Welcome to TV. I'm Johanna. I'm so thrilled to be here today with Ragani. She's backstage right now. She's a mantra artist that I've been to for a long time. She creates beautiful soundscapes of devotional music and really invites the audience into an experience. So if you'll hold on for just a few minutes, she's going to be here with us. It's very exciting that we have her here today. She has a beautiful new Gayatri mantra album, and it's just really a beautiful, beautiful offering for this time that we're going to speak about. We're also going to speak about our new single, Mantra Sangha, Health and Healing. It's a collective, collaborative project to help girls in Nepal get an education through Matrada Nepal Foundation. We're going to start out with Heartbeats 1 lyric music video. Please sing along, and maybe Ragani will join us too. If you want to be a part of this music video,
my heart beats one. Your heart beats one. This heart beats one. Our hearts beat as one. In our short, sweet lives, we're all searching for the light, the same light that makes trees stand. Our roots grow down, branches reach for the sky. I know inside that you share the same heart, the same soul, the same love, and I know my heart beats one. Your heart beats one. This heart beats one. Our hearts beat as one. My heart beats one. Your heart beats one. This heart beats one. Our hearts beat as one. My heart beats one. Your heart beats one. This heart beats one. Our hearts beat as one. My heart beats one. Share the heartbeat of the world. Feel the heartbeat, beat the heartbeat. Share the heartbeat of the world. Feel the heartbeat, beat the heartbeat. Share the heartbeat of the world. Feel the heartbeat, beat the heartbeat. Share the heartbeat of the beat as one.
I'm so honored to be here with beautiful Ragani. Welcome, Ragani. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing on this lovely, fine day?
Oh, I'm so much better now that we're together.
We are virtually together.
Yeah. It's smoke free finally here in Oregon since last time we spoke.
Oh,
So
wow.
things are starting to look up in the West Coast as the world is
Prayers are working.
yeah, prayers are working. So thanks for being a part of the prayers. A couple of weeks ago, Ragini and I had a beautiful opportunity to come together in song with the mantra Sangha, health
Yeah.
and healing.
That was so much fun to see everybody. I felt like we were at the festival doing it in a, virtual kind of way. That was so much fun. I really enjoyed that.
I really did too. It was such a treat and it was so cosmic the way it all came together with all of our brothers and sisters from festivals. First, being able to be involved in an audio production from home, like you, and then being able to get their time together to show up for the release. It was just such an honor that you were able to clear your schedule. I know we're all quite busy, even though we're in quarantine. And that brings me to a question. One of my intentions with this is to really talk and think about what it is that we as yoga and spiritual practitioners have the opportunity to practice through these times. I'm listening to a beautiful new album by you, and it's about the Gayatri Mantra. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit, but first I'm going to do a little snippet and talk about you from what I know. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing here so that our viewers get a little bit more familiar. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Awesome, Ragini. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So, we're here to help the healing of the world through consciousness expanding interviews with luminaries and music to open our hearts and uplift the world. We're here to learn from those among us who are there to inspire light in the dark times that we're going through. People who have practices that can uplift and shift our consciousness away from the dark and the fear that's going on. In the coming weeks, I'll be connecting with artists and healers such as Ragani, and we've got Seva coming up, and Gina Salah, and Kamini. This next month is going to be fabulous. The Divine Feminine is just going to be raining down on this show. I'm very, very thrilled. I'm getting goosebumps when I think about the opportunity to connect with all these sisters virtually. So this is a virtual growing community to explore and how to create a life of awareness through meaningful spiritual practices, music, and conversation. And Ragini is in the top 100 Milwaukeeans to know. She is from the Midwest in USA, and she has a beautiful new album called Light of Savitri, and it is all Gayatri Mantra based. And she has another album called Bring Me Home. And you can find her on Spotify, and she's having a release Bahamas retreat at the Shivananda ashram still January 29th through 31st. So that's holding strong. She also has a podcast that's going to be coming out, and we're going to speak a little bit about that. Welcome, Ragini.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Johanna. It's really nice to be here.
Yeah. So, Ragini, I've gotten to connect with you on the festival circuit so much, and it's been such a thrill to see that these devotional artists with our deep practices can also be fun and silly.
I was going to say they can also be serious goofballs.
Yeah.
I've walked into rooms with piles of musicians laying on one single piece of furniture. And, it's just, there's just such a community feeling. And it really feels like we're a big family that we get to see each other once in a while during these festivals. And it's been hard without having that this year, with COVID stuff and really only connecting on Zoom, and, really not being able to see each other and hug each other and create videos together and goof off and all those things that we've missed. So yeah, it's been a different year that way.
It sure has. I've found that it's been kind of, how good are your sea legs? Are you bending your knees? Are you on your board, right? Yeah. And but it's been really fun actually to explore all these new ways to connect with each other and with spirit and the divine. The practice of bhakti yoga, and some of our listeners and viewers aren't familiar with it. Can you share a little bit about what it is that this bhakti yoga practice does to your nervous system, and during times unknown like this, anciently, what in the Vedas and all of these ancient texts, how these bhakti yoga practices are supposed to help us.
That sounds like it's a really smart question.
Well, I think I know you to be a very smart girl. So,
Yeah, well, and bhakti yoga is a, loosely translated as a devotional path. And I remember it was said to me, my teacher used to do a lot of the kirtan. He also was a practitioner of many different of the forms of yoga, not just usually when people think of yoga, they think of the asanas or the postures, and
yeah,
they'll say things like, I do yoga, as
yeah,
opposed to like living it. And for many of us who do this kind of yoga and do the bhakti style yoga, which is more based on devotion and or includes a lot of music often, because it's one of the easiest ways to get yourself into a meditative space. And for many of us doing this style of music, it's a way of life. It's not just we do it, but it's actually what we are, what we live, and how we think about things. We break into song at the most inopportune times at moments.
yeah,
And yeah, so bhakti is that practice, anything that brings you back into the center of the heart and allows you to feel that you're living in a heart-based life. And without that, I've often felt, there's times where you walk through life and you might feel disconnected, and it's because you're not feeling that heart connection.
yeah.
And our dharma or life path is connected to that, our connections to other people, that in the end, that's the one thing we take with us, is that love and that connection that we have to other people. It's not the money or the house or the things we have or anything. It's the lessons we've learned here and that love connection that we have with ourselves and with others. So
Yeah.
it's really important. It's not just something that we do as musicians, or it's only for an exclusive, private few, but it's
Yeah.
a path that anybody can walk that allows you to feel that heart connection with others.
I think that that's so important to say that it is a path that anybody can walk because it's about heart connection. That feels like what has been missing in our culture and why I was attracted to the bhakti yoga path as a kind of empathic, spiritual on in this plane where there's a lot of negativity. How do you kind of find the vibration that lifts you higher? And when we're singing together, I find that even if people don't know how to sing or what we're singing, when multiples of those people come together to a kirtan with me or you or anyone, the whole roof blows off of the place. And it could be out of tune, it could be out of time. If you go to India, I'm sure
Yeah.
that's the experience, is that it's out of tune and out of time, but you can feel the joy and the devotion of that offering. And so even if you aren't participating, there's an effect, you
Right.
know?
It's impossible not to feel that. I've had many people who have been brand new to kirtan come into some event that, we were doing, or anybody else was doing for that matter, and walk out saying, I have no idea what just happened in there, but I want more of it. And just the feeling of like, it connected me, or even saying it, it made me want to cry, but in a good way. Like I didn't know why, it just opened something up and I felt like I was remembering something that I'd forgotten from long ago, or that it connected me to something that I had forgotten. And it's so powerful. When you think of the effect of these mantras and the music and doing this as a group, it's really powerful.
It really is. And that's what I actually experienced, even though we were virtual during our release party for the
Yeah.
Mantra Sangha Health and Healing official music video. It was all of this work, 6 months of my life, and then we all came together and I felt that experience, even though we were all apart. And there are people, thousands of people all over the world that are listening and viewing and being a part of that experience with us. I could feel that
Mhm.
even though it was mostly artists in our actual Zoom chat. So it's kind of interesting that technology can't get in between, can't break apart the vibration of what we're doing. It can still work this way.
Right. And if we actually are, the sages say we're all one, we're all connected. And they're not just doing that to sound like this some airy fairy, like little poetic thing. They actually mean that we're actually connected.
Yeah,
And I think the Zoom thing that we do, and even our cell phones, when we do this with our cell phones, it's a way of practicing being connected through time and space. With cell phones, there's nothing that connects it to anything. We can whisper into it and it goes exactly out into somebody else's cell phone just
yeah,
by how we touch the front of it. It's kind of like magic.
yeah,
And same thing happens with our connection. And I think, if we were to turn the Zoom off, even while we're talking now, I could still feel that you're here with me.
yeah.
It's still present because it's being done real time.
Yeah.
Interesting kind of, yeah, I've thought a lot about technology and what it's doing with our consciousness and how we think about space between us.
Yeah.
You know, whether it exists or not, or what is loneliness and what is it to be alone or away from others and all of that.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. And it's right now we're going through this isolation time. And this is a really good segue. I'm going to come back to a little bit of your history. Ragani has been featured on Fox 6 television and in numerous international publications. She's a yoga model for award-winning book, Yoga Mastering the Basics, and its accompanying videos. Her singles Peace, Prayer, and Love Holds Everything hit 18 and 24 respectively on iTunes World Music. So this lady, what she's talking, she has been doing this practice for a very long time. She has been doing it, having to have tech as a part of it through the recording process and through, I used to be in TV and films also, and I found that the screen, if we're in our hearts, it doesn't take away the message,
Hmm.
right? And so
Absolutely.
it has been a powerful exploration of that and a little
Yes.
scary at first.
Yeah. You know, I used to say like that about my teacher, that it took a little getting used to when you realized that the thoughts that you had could be heard by somebody else, that they're actually in yoga considered the most subtle
Mhm.
aspect of form, the most subtle
Right,
form of matter.
right.
And, for the live events, to support what you were saying, that the energy that's there, I've often shared with band members that I don't care how well you play or how stellar it is. If there wasn't a feeling of presence in the room, then it
Hmm.
was just a concert. It wasn't a kirtan, or it wasn't that devotional aspect I'm looking for and really want. And that's what nourishes people. You can
Yeah.
go to concerts all you want, but if that feeling of presence doesn't descend in the room at some point,
Hmm.
then it was just a concert, and I'm not just here to do a concert. I could do that anywhere, but I like that energy of the music. And even in recording, that was my prayer, that each time we'd record, that when it was played, it would go back out into the atmosphere from where it was captured. Wherever it was played, it would go back into the atmosphere and then have that same energy be brought live again, in a sense, because you're playing it and it becomes live when you play it. So even when
Yeah.
people will say things like, well, it's a recording, it's not as good as a live event and this and that. And I get that, but every time you play it, the elements are different, you're
Yeah.
different, whoever's hearing it is different, and it adds to the atmosphere that you play it in when you play music
Yeah.
back. So yeah, music is a great way to change energy in spaces and inside of us.
Right. So that brings me to a question that I was thinking about for us to speak about. Other than music and bhakti yoga practice, it sounds like those are things that are getting you through today's challenges. I'd like you to speak a little bit about that. But are there other practices and other offerings that you find really beneficial during these times that you'd like to chat about?
Uh, those are probably my core practices.
Mhm.
I do the Gayatri daily. It's a practice I do every day, just a quiet recitation. We call it japa, where you just repeat it
Mhm.
over and over as a certain number of times. And that's one of the most highly revered mantras from the Rig Veda. And it has the power to steady your mind, to establish your mind, and also to fulfill those those seeds or those desires that are inside of you that have yet to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And it is considered next to Om the most powerful of mantras. So that is one of my core practices. Meditation I've been doing since, gosh, I was 15, I started, and that's a twice daily thing for me. So that no matter what happens, if the whole world falls apart, you will find me every morning and every evening still sitting in my meditation, even if the house is burning down. That is my commitment till I leave this plane.
That's so beautiful.
And it does give a stability to that no matter what happens, that I go back to that. I go back to that home at night. I go back to that in the morning.
What kind of meditation do you practice, Ragini?
I don't know if there's a particular style that I would identify with, but it's one where I completely still the mind. I, go through the body, relax everything, make sure everything feels steady. I
Hmm.
start with a Gayatri mantra. I repeat that. I go through a round, a mala of the Gayatri, and
Hmm.
then I just sit and just like feel the expansion as I'm going out, and I wait to see, what do I feel. Sometimes I'll go into the heart vibration in the center of the body,
Hmm.
which you can feel sometimes and I just did a workshop on sound and vibration, and we kind of practice some of this, where you listen to the most subtle sound that you can hear that's outside of you, And
Mm,
you start practicing hearing it inside, that most subtle, subtle sound. And then you let it expand and you let it get bigger, and it can just fill you with bliss. There's nothing more that you need than that. That just fills you.
yeah.
So those are two core practices. And I also love being social, and I really miss that. So I'm actually looking at inviting our band out to go picking apples or raspberries, fall raspberries or something this fall, just to get people out. And I love humor. So I'm still finding ways to goof off and be silly as much as possible, because there's a lot of difficult things people are going through. And I think it helps, to smile and make a good joke at somebody, the guy at Trader Joe's, when they ask you how you're doing and you have something to share that's fun. I like playing with people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I miss going into the airports and playing with the people that were there. I always used to post, I'd rate my pat downs, when I get a pat down, I'd rate it, 1 out of 10, how good it was, what the coverage was, how firm it was, and how much attention they put into it. And I miss having that little aspect of travel. So yeah, I do like doing it. I think it helps me a lot to cope with stuff.
Yeah, humor is so important. It's, you have to balance the depth of practice with the lightness of life, right?
Totally. Totally.
And I just think it's so, brilliant that you were just talking about your meditation while this beautiful Gayatri mantra from your new album was playing.
Mm,
And I thought that we might take a few breaths and turn that up and feel the
mm,
feeling of the heart space and the
mhm,
earth, and feel the vibration of this music. And then we could maybe lighten it up right after and see how we feel.
mhm. That sounds good.
All right. So this is a track called Abundance from Ragani.
That was the end of abundance.
Yeah, that was the end of Abundance. But we do have the album cover up now, so I'm going to let us play a little bit of Transformation. I just loved the feeling of the pads and the sound of that beautiful vibration as you were speaking about your meditative practice.
Mm, mhm.
Good, Queen. Thank you. Sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulty, but we're back with this beautiful mantra from Ragani. Ooh, so beautiful. Thank you, Ragini.
Yes.
We were getting a little loud and a little quiet. I think it was working from multiple devices. I apologize for that.
Technology, it's catching up to our minds.
But I feel like that was a welcome breath in my heart and mind. Thank you so much.
Thanks. That was a beautiful moment in my life to finish that album after many, many years. And Hans Christian was a big part of helping that album come to fruition. So, yeah, I'm
Mm,
really grateful for that.
that's so beautiful. Would you like to share a little bit about that mantra and its meaning and how it's powerful during these times?
Yeah, sure. The album has 8 Gayatris on it, and many people know the Surya Gayatri, which is the main one.
Hmm.
The Gayatri mantra that when people say, repeat the Gayatri, that's usually the one they're working with. And my friend Stoma sent me 8 other Gayatris or 7 other Gayatris to make 8 at one point, and I thought I'd really like to record them, but they're so similar. They have similar cadence and feel to them
Hmm.
that, how do you put that in a song? And the idea of putting drum beats and guitar and all this didn't feel like what the songs were calling for. So I had to sit with it for a while, and then finally, the idea of a drone and very simple, stripped down, feel came to record them. But the mantras themselves, the Gayatri, it has, because of what's going on in our times now, the ability to stabilize the energy and to really bring that um, the focus within, and to bring that, because it's another word for it is Savitri, and it reflects the energy of the sun.
Mm,
So it's, Surya is the sun, the Surya Gayatri has the power of the sun, where, it can actually just blaze through everything and clear and purify. It's a great mantra for purifying, for, as I said, fulfilling desires, and not just the desires we have that feel like, I want a new house or car or whatever, but like truly those ones that are so deep in our heart that sometimes we don't even, we barely uncover them in this lifetime because they're so powerful.
yeah.
That's what this mantra is for. I mean, I can't say enough about that particular mantra, that, it's even said when somebody says, well, what's the effect of repeating it? Or what effects do you have? Everybody talks about being so powerful. What are those effects?
Right.
And one statement that I liked about the effects says it all for me, kind of, that until you've actually done a number of repetitions, they talk about like a Purusharna, where you do, several 100,000 repetitions of it. At that point, when you finish the completion of those repetitions, then you know what the
Yeah.
effect of the Gayatri is. In other words, it's like until you actually walk into the fire and you feel the fire, you can say, well, it looks hot, it has this color, it has this and that, but until you actually walk through it, or until you jump into the water, or until you actually embody it or feel yourself with it, the effects of it cannot be known in full, because the subtleties are hard to explain. How to explain subtleties? And that's what yoga science is really about, are those subtleties of practice that we have.
Right. That's so powerful. Yeah, I find that this is a time where all of these mantras are meaning so much more than they ever did to me. Even
Mm,
though they were always very powerful, and I found that this bhakti yoga practice has, saved me again and again and showed me new layers of myself and the onion and peeled back all of the layers. But during this time, to go really deep and really think and feel on a deeper level what these vibrations are truly doing, it's becoming quite profound. Even the smallest, like Om Namah Shivaya, three little words
right.
about destruction and creation are meaning much more to me right now than 3 months ago, 6 months ago. We had started with coronavirus, and here we are with worldwide pandemic, lots of hate going on. And what can we do? We can pray and we can keep loving. I
Well,
was Go
yeah.
ahead.
I was to say, isn't it interesting that, so I found this very curious, that the beginning of the coronavirus, there's, lots of the shifting of power going on with protests and other things that are happening right now. And it feels like chaos.
Mm-hmm.
When you come and you sit in meditation, the power that was there felt so much more magnified with all of this going on, that it felt like it was so much more available even to go into that space where there was a presence, and sit in front of what I call like the wall of masters that are sitting with me when I do meditation. I feel them or imagine them sitting in front of me, all of them, as I
Yeah.
sit for my meditation. And it's so powerful that when there's all this chaos going on, when you pull everything in and you sit still, there's a power in that. It's kind of like when you're driving your car in fifth gear and you suddenly move it back to third, and you feel that, oh, that power that's in there. Or even in a kirtan, when it's going crazy and everybody's dancing around, they're frantic and they got energy and this excitement is going and it's joyful. And you sit and you completely still, you feel something different. There's something that happens. And I felt this throughout this entire coronavirus and throughout all of this. I mean, this whole year the theme has been, I can't breathe,
Mm.
or the difficulty of whether it's the smoke stuff that started with Australia fires. And now, you guys are having them in California and Portland, Oregon. There's
Mm-hmm.
just this theme. And then all the stuff that went on with the Black Lives Matter and the I can't breathe. And now here we are asking like people to sing and open their breath and like share that inspiration.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful when we're doing the meditation and all that energy is swirling around, but we're still and we're steady and we don't move.
Yeah.
It's like you go to a different place when it's that still. You go to a place that only by going there can you understand what that feeling is and what that subtlety that impacts you. And it changes the rest of your day. It changes it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So been here since the start of this virus, and I've been really grateful for that. This
Yeah.
year, I've often said it, despite all the difficulties that are going on, and I didn't have work for several months, I had no income, my savings were going down. There's some things that were concerning about health stuff and everything.
Yeah.
On some level, this has been one of the best years for me personally, just because of this feeling of this energy that's been here, that you just go into the space where it's completely still. It's like, wow, it opens up.
Yeah.
I know it's like there's more masters or there's more energy here helping us in the non-physical than when it's just an ordinary day and we're going about. But when these kind of big things come up, I feel like there's a lot more help around. It's
Yeah.
beautiful that way. So
Yeah. Yeah, I really feel like it is really beautiful. And what's interesting also, what you were saying that I got stuck on was this whole year has been a I can't breathe year, right?
yeah.
And I was thinking about how California has banned chanting and singing, and church. It's like church is gone. What are we gonna, not bringing the gospel to the church? What are you gonna do? We're gonna keep singing. We're gonna keep singing at home. We're gonna keep praying. I just released an album called Mantra Soul, where I was bringing together the gospel of the East with the gospel of the West, because my path. I wanted to share a little bit, actually, ask you a little bit about your upbringing. My upbringing was not in an ashram. Um,
Nor was mine.
Nor was yours. I thought that I heard a group grapevine rumor. So, but your practice, what? Tell me a little bit about how you did get into bhakti yoga, so I can understand that, and why this practice is so deep and long lived for you. Because when you sing, I can feel your
Mm,
devotion and your heart as a practitioner who's been there for a while.
mm. Thank you. Uh, you know, I don't couldn't quite say when it started, but I know I do remember when I felt like I picked back up and what I felt like I'd left off long ago. And it was a very clear feeling to me. I was babysitting babysitting at a woman's house for this 4-year-old girl who I adored, back when I was in 8th grade. And they had a little temple room in their home, and there were 4 people in there, 3 or 4 people, and they were chanting. They were doing these Sanskrit chants. I'd never heard them before, and I remember going in there with this little 4-year-old, and I didn't want to leave.
Mm,
And these chants were going through my mind. And I felt at that point something happened to me. And I remember she would take me home drop me back home after I was done babysitting her daughter. And I said, what is that? And when she would teach me some of these chants and we would sing in the car. And I was at that point, I felt like my heart had been stolen. I
mm,
literally, like, something had changed, and it felt like I was remembering something, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. It felt really familiar to me, and I was so drawn to it.
mm,
And so I can't say it ever felt separate from me. It wasn't like, oh, I started and I joined a bhakti path and now I'm on it. It felt like there are pieces, and I think we all do this in our life, where we go along and we find pieces of ourselves that feel like almost like they were missing, or we forgot about them. And oh, I forgot about that, or I forgot about you. And then you meet somebody and they feel familiar, and wow, these connections that we have, that when we're here in our little dense mind of the physical world doesn't feel as high as the non-physical, these things then come as kind of a surprise and delight, I think, for me.
yeah.
And so that it did start, when I was younger, in the sense of, I met my teacher when I was younger. And I guess I had an inclination to, I was always more, I guess you'd say, spiritually inclined, in the sense of I was curious about where did we come from? What's the universe? What's our purpose here? Those bigger questions kind of stayed with me when I was a kid, which,
Mm,
seems kind of odd. But I did notice other kids my age were not very interested in talking about it. So I could talk about it with the babysitters. And one babysitter taught me about the phrase synchronicity. And that was the first time I'd ever heard it. And it's probably like 4th grade or somebody's 5th grade. I don't remember how old I was. And he told me this word. And I was like, that explains a lot of things. synchronicity, like things just happening and having meaning and purpose. And it was like, oh, I was so excited to learn that word. So yeah, and then music kind of came along later. I'd say even after hearing the chanting at that point, I didn't really start doing it until I was 15 or 16, and started, that was when I did go to the ashram and re-met my teacher for a second time, but then decided I was going to stay there and study with him. And that kind of became, beginning of the rest of my life.
How beautiful. What an opportunity to be gifted those practices at such a young age. I had a kind of similar experience. My dad was doing sound for Krishna Das at Brighton Bush Hot Springs when I was a teenager. And I was gifted, I was a songwriter from, singing since I could speak, songwriter since I was 9. My first song was called Just a Little More Love. It hasn't changed much. That's all we need, just a little more hope for the world to see, all of that stuff. Anyway, so my dad, who had produced that song, in the 80s with synths, dee, 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 it's really, really cheesy.
The
Um,
sense.
anyway, so post Just a Little More Love. I'd been blessed in the womb by Ram Dass before that, but Krishna Das introduced me to kirtan at 16 years old. And that's when it really, so you were saying you were 16 when you're like, oh, I'm going to go do this. I was 16 when I was like, oh, this exists and I'm going to come back to this later.
Yeah. 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 I didn't know that. I didn't know until we did the Mantra Sangha video release party that we had. I didn't know that you had been connected to Krishna Das, and that's kind of what started you in it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a kind of a full fun circle to see, because, obviously I know him separate from you, and I, then seeing that come together in the video was really nice.
Yeah, it was really profound. And it's so interesting. We all have lots of different teachers and gurus in our lives, and that is just someone who illuminates the darkness, right? And so, and I think it's so important to honor them in these conversations. So you grew up a bit in the Shivananda ashram, right? At 16, or what ashram did you land
Oh,
in? I'm
I
making
was
an
actually at
assumption.
Swami Rama's ashram. So
Oh,
um,
wonderful.
Swami Shivananda was like an elder brother to my teacher. When they were in Rishikesh together, Swamiji or Swami Rama, my teacher, used to call Swami Sachidana or Swami Shivananda Bhaiji, like elder brother. So that tradition is really close to my heart, and they do some really good teachings that are just very, I often said when we go down there, we've been going down to the Shivananda ashram probably for this, I think this is our 13th trip down there, 13th year or 14th year or something. And the programs we've done down there, we get to teach and then do the kirtan. And I often share with the TTCers, the people who are doing teachers training, they have lots and lots of people coming through there, like every couple of months, a new class rotating through, just hundreds of people. And one of the things I say is, if you're going to study from a tradition or a teacher, find one who has roots that go very deep, because that'll help you. And it's not just about that teacher. That teacher is like on the forefront of a lineage that goes far beyond this lifetime and even this physical form.
Yeah.
And if you find one that has a lineage that is very deep and runs very deep, then if that teacher is not able to help you, there'll be others in the tradition who will come forth, even if they're not physically here. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of, being or surrounded by these kinds of teachings. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was with Swami Rama's ashram, though, that I was spent more time at. And then Shivananda, I didn't go there until I was an adult. I'm
See,
really
I
not
got
into that.
you. One of my teachers grew up in the Shivananda ashram. So I was
Oh,
like, yeah, Ragani must have also, because we talked about Shivananda earlier before we were live. But
yes.
now I'd like to talk a little bit about Shivananda because I think you said that you have an offering coming up there, yeah?
I do. Yes. Our band is going down there for a social distance retreat with kirtan, and we usually do a sound workshop on explorations in sound and vibration. Really fun to do. I'm not sure all of how we'll do it while we're there, because it often involves, although we might have people back to back or something if they're comfortable, but we've often done ones that involve touch. So now we'll do it without that. But it's a beautiful ashram. If you haven't been down in the Bahamas, so there's a picture of that's actually the ocean. That picture on the right is the ocean that's there. Oh, it's just gorgeous. And they have on one side the ocean and the other side is the harbor, because they're actually on Paradise Island in the Bahamas.
Mm.
And there's no roads or cars or traffic. You're basically on this island. There's a hotel and there's a bunch of, larger homes kind of down the way, but it's pretty you're there to do the practices, and you're at this ashram and they have vegetarian food and they have yoga classes morning, afternoon, meditation in the morning and the evening. And oh, if you have never meditated, you can go there. You don't have to know a thing about it. You can sit in the meditation. And because they've been doing it for so long as a group, and because there's an energy about that, people will describe going there in the meditation as a feeling of like, oh, I just like, kind of like, I think I can meditate. Like, wow, it just came so easy. They just sink into this place because the energy of the group is there, and it's really powerful.
What a
So
beautiful experience during this time for
it
people to.
is. It is. I wasn't sure that they would open back up, but it sounds like they did open up in September, and they're doing some social distance programming as well as Zoom programming. So I
Yeah.
know a few people that are going to be coming down with us. So we've got 4 band members, myself, Mike, and Tim and Dave usually join me.
Dave Blessom, he played with me while I was in Milwaukee. He's great.
Yes,
You were
yes,
talking
he
about
did.
your musicians, and I was thinking about Dave and how he really embodies the
Dave.
practice when he's playing. He's got a sweet, and
Dave.
his last name's Blessom, right? Or something. Like, how could you not bless him? He's great. So go meet Dave Blessom, and oh, Ragani will be there.
You know, these guys, I can't think of a better group to travel with. Sometimes Holly would come down with us, our flute player. And I mean, seriously, they crack me up. They're so funny about some of the stuff we do. I mean, I woke up one morning and there was somebody put a plunger on the back of my door, and I opened it and it hit the back and closed, and they all act like nobody did it. And, you know, I love when they play jokes on me. They're really fun to travel with. And I miss traveling with them.
I miss traveling,
I
but
miss traveling too.
I traveled to you today virtually, so that's good
Great.
enough for me
I'm
today.
here in all your living rooms. Isn't that amazing? I mean,
It's so
everybody's
fun.
living room right now at the same time.
It's
That's
so
like
cool.
a yoga feat.
Wow. I used to think the festivals were great. This is a whole different experience.
That's right.
Speaking of Sangha and mantra and all of the things we've been talking about, we're coming to the last 15 minutes together. So I'd like to check in and chat a little bit about our recent experience of collaborating on mantra Sangha, health and healing, and the official music video, and what that was like for you. And then we're going to share the music video so people can really experience this fundraising project.
Well, I was in my kitchen when my Facebook little FaceTime thing came up that said, somebody's calling you. And it was Johanna. I was like, oh my goodness. So I picked it up. I was like, hello. And you said, I didn't think I was going to catch you, but now that I did. And then you proceeded to tell me about this project you were doing. And I mean, it just, the idea of having a bunch of artists together to create something like this. And you just, I mean, hats off to you. Not only was it just the song, but it became the video, it became the live Zoom event, then the release party, and like it just, and now this coming out. I mean, just like it kind of just kept unfolding and unfolding and getting bigger. And so by the time we got to the Zoom meeting where we were having that release party or the video release that night, it was just fun to see all these artists, and then to have it kind of backstage when we were doing the sound check and all the things and just kind of goofing off with each other there. It was just really fun to see everybody in that way. And the mantra, the melody is gorgeous. It just, I remember you said, well, you like it, Ragani, because it's kind of like your music. And I thought it is. It's like a Sanskrit chant, and it goes over and over again. And that's my kind of music. So it was, I was like, how could I say no to that? It was really beautiful. It turns out, apparently, and Hans called me on this twice. I'm looking at my microphone here. My mic, apparently, something with the cable or the mic, there's some kind of sound in it that he said, Ragani, you have a sound in your recording. I was like, no, I don't. They're really clean, you know? And then he said, no, you have a sound in there. So anyway, that actually queued me up to find this, that in fact, I did have something that was going on with that. So I'm just, hats off to you guys for fixing all of it. It sounds just beautiful.
For your new record.
Yeah, it's like,
You didn't release right after, right? So you're all prepped for that.
no, this, you mean this release? That
No,
one?
I'm talking about you did a single release right after that, right?
Oh, the single release after that one, but not after yours. Those both of mine were released last summer.
Oh, okay. Well, now you're ready to do all of your home production since you aren't.
Yeah.
Shall I break our viewers' hearts right now and say that you aren't doing a lot of things right now
Well, I
online?
guess it's official now if you break their hearts and tell them now. But yeah, I'm working on a couple other projects that they're really important to me. And in order to do them well, I'm taking a little sabbatical for the next 15 to 17 months until it's completed. I may do a little bit of recording of this next album because I've got all the songs ready for it, and it's a much slower kind of heartfelt album, not like the last one where there's no beat. It'll have all the musicians and everything, but yeah, I'm going to hold off. And actually, it's good timing because Corona's here and she's given us her blessings of isolation.
What are you going to do?
So right.
The opposite of victim is creativity. And so that's
Totally.
been going around in my mind ever since this went off. And that's how the Mantra Sangha Health and Healing music video was born somehow. And my projects tend to do that. It
So much
starts little.
time. I couldn't believe the emails you were sending. And I thought, I know what it's like to record with groups of people. You have to babysit a lot of people. I mean, you are like going after people like, hey, can you put this? Hey, send this to me. Hey. And you had all these people that you were doing it. I know I was one of them. And I was like, man, this is amazing. And it still got pulled off. It was graceful. We were on there live. You looked fabulous. It was really incredible. It was really fun. Oh, it was so fun, girl. I'll tell you.
Girl. Oh my God. So on that note, yeah, it was so, and I actually wanted to honor you and say, yes, that it was like herding cats, and I couldn't have done it without my team, Johanna. You can email them at thankyou@info@johannasings.com. And also just without my friends like you who really are professional and showed up and were responsive and really honored my time and all of the attention that it does take to put into this. You made it a lot easier with your responsiveness. So I want to,
well, holy cow.
it's not always easy for me to respond right away, and you did a pretty dang good job.
It's very hard to do that. And it is like herding cats. I know when I did the Peace Prayer music video, which that was my only like professional music video, the first one I ever did.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of work that goes into the editing, to the music, to the people, to the videos, to get stuff in, it just is like, holy moly. And you did it in what, 6 months, you said? Song and
yeah, about the video was the last 2 months, I believe, and the herding of the cats was the rest. We're like, maybe we'll have it recorded. Well, we don't have anyone's voices yet. Well, Kamini sounds really good. I'll just sing, and and then it all just came together at the last minute every time. So with all of this buildup, let's share this beautiful music video. And I just want to say again, thank you so much, Ragani, for your time.
Oh.
And you can visit her at raganiworld.com. We'll have that on the YouTube and the Facebook chat. And please join me again next week at noon. I have Gina Salah.
Gina Salah. Yay.
One of my teachers.
And she was so fabulous in that video. You guys will all see her here. But yeah, thank you for having me. And Gina,
it's actually Kamini next. Gina's on October 27th.
Oh,
thank you, assistant.
Kamini's great too.
But
you have some great singers.
Yeah, so all of these people were a part of the Mantra Sangha Health and Healing Project, and you can tune in with them. We're also leading up to a wintertime online festival. I don't know if we can get anyone out of their hiatus or whatever, but it would be nice if we might be able to talk Ragani into just like a little tune or something, but we'll be in touch.
Okay.
So stay tuned for One Heart Festival coming up this winter. Thank you, Ragani. Bless you on your journey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Johanna, and blessings to everybody really in this time. Take care of each other and take care of yourselves.
Would you like to lead us in an Om Shanti 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 Hi before we do this video?
Sure.
This is a peace prayer.
Just Om. The Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yes. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace.
Thank you, Ragani. Mantra Sangha Health and Healing official music video. You can find this on YouTube. Please share it with your friends. Supporting Matrada Nepal Foundation. matrada.org.
Om Krim नसी ॐ क्रीं महाकाली सर्वरोगं नसी नसी
सर्वरोगं नसी नसी ॐ क्रीं महाकाली सर्वरोगं नसी नसी ॐ क्रीं महाकाली सर्वरोगं नसी नसी ॐ क्रीं महाकाली सर्वरोगं नसी नसी Nasi Nasi, Om